told my students and stuff, many years ago, that there is coming this division of the dark versus the light. I saw this heading this way like from quite a while ago, and was very concerned with these preachers, televangelists, and then they started coming out with this prosperity gospel and all this nonsense, and I go, that is not what Christ was teaching. That is so against what he was teaching. And I could see this perversions coming into the church. And I stopped going to church because of all these perversions. Okay, my path led me to my whole thing was doing the spiritual search, and that's what I came in to do. And very sincerely, I started out in an esoteric Christian order, and the Kundalini opened when I was there, and it took me on a very difficult journey. Okay, but in the end, I found out and, dismantled. The ego dismantles into the divine is, the Godhead. Now, I understand now why Buddhists did not say anything about God. He didn't say God exists, he didn't say that, because it's this conundrum, okay? It's a conundrum. In order for God to exist, there has to be something other than God. And at the primary level of everything, there is nothing other than God. Okay? So, you could say it's all God. Because that's what's at the center of being that fuels everything. Now the ego wants to compartmentalize and wants to have its own existence. That's what happened with Satan. He didn't want to give the glory to God. He wanted it all for himself. So, the ones that want to really skew things are distancing from God, from the light, from that. Now, when everything dismantles and there is no you, there's no world, okay, in that moment, one is in a different consciousness, and the world is not, and you're not, and the only thing that's there is the divine is. Now, it's not something that it's spirit. It's not something you touch. It's not something you grasp or you're seeing with your eyes, or it just is. It just is. And at that moment, everything shifts. All your doubt, all this stuff, you cannot doubt anything. You know that this is, the divine is, and it fuels everything. They say it's the void, but I call it the pregnant void, because anything that will ever come into existence is already there in its fullness, okay? So it's the pregnant void. It's whole, it's complete always, and nothing can ever touch that kernel and that seed of light, which gives you fuel, which is the living. I say it's the life of all life and the death of all death. It's eternal in nature. So when one dismantles into that, your whole existence is changed. And when one comes out of that and the eyes are awakened again, and this world comes back into view, this transient journey here comes back into view, everything has changed, and yet nothing's changed in the world, but you have forever changed, and your whole existence within the world has changed, okay? Where there was fear and doubt and depression, those things as if they never were, okay? It all goes immediately. And the mind stops, and one goes into the stillness, this peace that passes understanding. And that remains forever the rest of your life, okay? And one understands the eternal versus the transient journey. And then you come back and you enjoy experience for what it is. It's a transient, okay? It's not who and what you are. You are not this physical form, you are spirit, okay? And what fuels the spirit is that divine is, okay? So the way I like to explain it is, there's only one God, one divine is. And it's like if you take the divine is and you put a lampshade over it and you poke holes in it, you get what? All these, looks like individual lights. But you follow it back through there and it goes back to one source. Okay? Every being comes from that one source. Okay? There are not numerous gods. I don't care what you want to call it, or different aspects of God. It all goes back to a single source. So you have such a revelation, such a immediate knowing, not an assumption. You see so many people that are talking about their assumptions as what it is. Okay? But this is an absolute knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay? There is, and you can't even, trying to explain it to people is very difficult, because it is a radical, it's beyond people that have a near-death experience and they feel that love. It's beyond that. It's beyond that. Because they are still in this feeling of a separation, but they are feeling that, well, that's what happens with a near-death experience. But when realization happens, it's called realization, and you go into Turiya, the stilled mind, okay? All of it dismantles. And rather than feeling this love of God, you are within that divine is, the consciousness of that, okay? And so everything changes immediately. So when I'm speaking, I have a totally different perspective on things than most people have. And I don't care who you are, there's no higher and there's no lower. Okay, everybody has the same amount of the divine is within them. The only difference between realization and those that are still in the dark, so to speak, is that the door's opened. And I've awakened, like Buddha says, you're awakened. Okay, and that's why the dark cannot stand that word woke. Awakened. They don't want people awakened. They want to continue to compartmentalize. Like Satan, it's like they want the glory for themselves. They want to be ego bound. They want to be, but that is a losing proposition. Because I don't care what they do, they're not going to hold on to that transitory form. Okay? It's going to go. And then one goes with those of like consciousness. But I can tell you everything is eternal. And this is why that karma is in place, because the divine is, which is at the center of being, is what it is. Okay? It is what it is. And it is truth. And it projects truth. And those that want to run from truth, okay, they can try to fool themselves, they can try to fool others, but at the center core of it is what? That all-knowing. So that's why it says in the Bible that God judges the hearts and the minds, okay? It's not, God, this male, like they want to say, it's a male sitting up there on a throne that's, no, it's not like that. It's the Spirit, and that's why Christ came and he spoke about the Spirit, okay? Rather than the letter of the law, which is don't. The Spirit of the law comes from love. It comes from truth. It comes from that knowing. It comes from that compassion, etc., which is the opposite. Okay, he came to reform Judaism, came to be a reformer, to teach the higher things, okay? But we have the evil angel church that wants to stay what? In the darkness. Don't, and haters and this and that, and division, and my God's a jealous God. No. Jealous of what? If you have a jealous God, then what are you worshiping? Because my God, the divine is not jealous. It's like it says even in the Old Testament, which they throw out, and why they got into the sacrificing of things, who knows how that began. But God is saying, the sacrifice that I want you to do the right things. That's the sacrifice. You don't need to sacrifice cattle and sheep and goats and people to me. I own all of them. What do I need you to sacrifice it for? I own all of them. I have created all of them. Do you think I need you to give me something? And then you get these ones that try to find loopholes in this. I want the letter of the law, but I want to look for a loophole. Okay. Well, all of that's thrown out if you're coming from the heart and you're coming from love and you're coming from compassion. All of that stuff is ended. Because you only need those for that which is the negative, the dark. Okay? In the light, those things, you're not going to commit adultery. You're not going to be doing these things. Because you're going to come from the light, from love, from compassion, from genuine, from morality, honesty, integrity. Okay? And when you come from honesty, integrity, love, and light, you're not going to be doing those things. That naturally falls away. So yeah, I mean, when you dismantle into the divine you want to give that to everybody. But what I rapidly found was people say, I want to get to realization. No, they don't. I rapidly found out no. Because that's a hard path. It takes sacrificing what? Ego. That's the sacrifice. Just before it all dismantled, I knew I had done everything I could do, and this great terror came. Great terror, I mean absolute terror. And I knew it was a crisis point. And at that moment, you don't have time to rationalize and think these things. It's like that. It's like that moment that comes and boom. And internally, I said, on the altar of truth, I lay myself. Okay, that's literally what went through. On the altar of truth, it's like that sacrifice. And you feel like that sacrifice, like Easter, the sacrifice at Christ, and he's on the cross, and why have you forsaken me? Well, that's what you feel like in that moment. Terror. Why have you forsaken me? What, and all you can do is surrender totally in that moment. The ego has been crucified, sacrificed, okay? That's what happens. And then in the next second, everything dismantles, this world falls away, everything falls away, and there's only that divine is. So God is not going to sacrifice your ego, and that's what, Christ came to show the path. You sacrifice the ego yourself, okay? You're the one that has to give it up and want God more than you want ego, okay? You have to want God more than you want ego. And you have to totally lay down and trust. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen. Am I going to be possessed? The only one that can get me through this is God. That's it. Okay? And it's a terrifying moment. Okay? Terrifying moment. But then the world is gone. There's no you, there's no world, there's only that divine is. Okay? And that's what I call God. The divine is spirit. Okay, spirit. Whole and complete, always as it is. And that fuels everything. That's why it's the life of all life and the death of all death. There is no true death in the divine is. Okay? There is that creation of this transitory. From earth we come, and to earth it goes. Okay? This physicality of form, but we are not that. We are spirit. Okay? This is our vehicle. Just like you are not your car. The car is a mode of transportation. We are not these physical bodies. This is our mode of transportation and ability to function in this plane of existence for experience. Okay? So one knows that at the heart of being, that we are eternal. Okay? So once one dismantles into that eternality, it's a whole change. Now, when you come out of it, and you've been lifetimes in the search, lifetimes searching for God, then it's all of a sudden like hitting a brick wall. Well, now what? It's like your whole reason for life has just been pulled out from under you. And it takes a little while to adjust. Everything is so overblown for a number of years. It takes a while. When one comes out of it, you can't say I. It feels like a perversion. Because an I is this encapsulated separation, feeling of a separation, and it's no longer that. So for many years it would say this one, because I couldn't say I. Normal, nominal conversation. That's why I'm still not somebody that wants to chit-chat into small things. It just can't, doesn't work here. Okay? Oh, so there's a whole shift of consciousness that takes place. All the former things have passed away, as it says. The Bible rightly says, former things have passed away. Okay, as if they never were. And one is born again. It's what Christ was talking about. First birth is what? Of water, the physical birth. And then the second birth is what? Spirit. That's realization. That's what happens when the ego dismantles. One is born into spirit, a spirit being. Okay? But very few have found that as yet. But it is coming. It is possible for anyone to reach realization, to be born of spirit. Okay? Maybe this talk should have come yesterday. I don't know, maybe. But I'm sure it's the right timing as to do it today. But that's what happens. If people understood really what Christ was speaking of and saying and showing people, yes, there's great fear. Like the day before he was crucified, and he knew he had to lay down his life willingly himself. He was what? Sweating blood. You don't sweat blood unless you're in terror. And I can tell you, the moment before everything dismantles, it's terror. And then you feel that, like, I've been abandoned, because you have to lay it down yourself. Because we have free will, okay? So the journey it's the mysteries. It's the mystic's journey. Like I said, when I came out and you want to give this to everyone, you wish you could give it to everyone. But most people, they want to be what? The magician. And that's the start of the journey, wanting to control. I just want to make my life better. I want to be able to control and change things. Okay? So it's the journey of ego. They don't want to get to the tower moment where everything implodes. They want the magician. And the magician is what? In fantasy. Okay? The magician is smoke and mirrors. Okay? It takes coming to that point of the tower moment where everything implodes and dismantles. Okay? So, there's, unfortunately, as a world system, people are still in the magician, but now they're going to what? The control. That's what we're seeing now. First, then we had the mysteries, the hidden things. Well, now we see those that want to be controllers, domineering. The ego-fueled ones of darkness that want to dominate, okay? And so, again, we have to look, are you going towards the thing of domination, or are you going to the one of the giver, the lover, okay? Which way are you going? So anyway, on that note, I'm going to leave this here. There's so much you could get involved in. People come to my channel and they don't know. They go, what can you know? You're reading tarot cards. They don't know the background. They don't know the sacrifice. They don't know the journey that has been done here. Okay? So I give what I can give back to humanity. I wish people could be in my consciousness for 1 second and they would see such a difference of the stillness and that peace, that no matter what takes place, there is that peace that is there. So much love and light to everyone, and I hope that you've had a wonderful day. If you have gone to church, I hope you have a wonderful church that you're able to go to. Like I said, I stopped going because the church is here, okay? God is here. God is not one place more than another place. God is not contained in a building, okay? He's equally, wherever you go, the highest heaven, it says, or the deepest hell, God is there equally in any place, okay? The difference is the consciousness of the one that's there, okay? So on that note, I'm going to leave this here, and I'll see you online.